All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and North Korea expects food, cash, and new leverage in an exchange with sending troops to Russia. Now, we always knew there was some sort of, tit-for-tat or some sort of exchange going on, but now this is what they are claiming. It is clear that Vladimir Putin gains from thousands of North Korean troops joining Russia's prolonged war in Ukraine, but the motivation behind Kim Jong-un sending young and inexperienced soldiers into battle that will enter its third year of this year is less apparent. North Korean soldiers training to fight in Europe's biggest conflict since the Second World War have stakeholders watching to see if the so-called blood alliance with Russia could become one of the most lucrative projects in reclusive history, of the reclusive country's history. Of course, thousands of North Korean soldiers are already training in Russia for combat with the Ukrainian army alongside the Russian president's troop, as the two most heavily sanctioned and isolated regimes step up their friendship to an unprecedented level. It's crazy that just a few years ago, Russia wasn't talked about as if they are North Korea. But now it is true. They are the two most sanctioned countries in the world. So we are going to talk about this and much, much more. There's, of course, insane things happening since the results came out of the Pick the Prez Day. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, I hope everybody is as excited for the show as I am. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We have a lot of new names here. Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for giving us a chance. Of course, we see all of our awesome mods and great people in the chat. A lot of people have been here for years. Thank you guys for making it. So North Korea is, in turn, what they're saying is that they get for sending troops food, cash, and new leverage. I don't know. I think that they are going to get up what's straight up that they are offering. I think that they are going to get troops. But let's get another opinion. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So what do you think? I mean, it makes sense. They need cash, and they're one of the countries that we've talked about many times that they have to do some pretty weird things to get their cash, like black market things, send their people out to make money, and then bring basically all of their wages back to the country. They have even a special building dedicated to how they can locate money with their scams and scoundrels, or at least that's what they say. But what do you think they're doing? I think it's to lead up to, Russians helping them out with the war against South Korea.
Well, yeah, I think it is too. I don't know that it's so much that they need food and money. I think that's what they want to tell people because people can understand that and not have to worry about sanctions. When in reality, what they want is weaponry, nuclear technology, and other things to help improve their submarines, their ICBMs, and any of their other weapons systems that they don't have yet, so that they think they can get from Russia. So I think that's ultimately what they want. But that would never be public, because if it was, it would go against sanctions. But I don't even know if they care about that, because even them sending military gear to Russia went against sanctions, and they did it anyway.
And North Korea has one of the largest militaries, and I'm sure that's by choice, right? Just everybody's volunteering. But of 1.2 million soldiers. So when you think of when they send 10,000 soldiers, it's barely a drop in the bucket touching their forces, because every male that is of fighting age is essentially the property of North Korea. And these guys are trained and in one sense, talked to a South Korean. They had at least 2 North Korean friends that came over that left North Korea, that were part of a special program that actually basically helped them get housing and things. Said that essentially you are abused as military, that you are broken down. Very much, we think of our military as you break down a man and you bring him back up. But in the ways they do it with borderline torture, that these guys are just absolutely beaten and hurt. And that's the kind of soldiers that we're dealing with. So these like articles coming out about, of course, right off the bat, they were saying that Russians were going like, who are these guys? They're a bunch of dummies, or we don't even know what to do with these guys. And they're saying that they need training and all of this. North Korea, of course, isn't battle tested. They haven't been in wars with soldiers all over, at least not this batch of soldiers. So it's making me very concerned, the fact that they are getting battle tested right now. And they're going to learn a lot from this. They're going to learn a lot from these conflicts right now. I know Kim Jong-un, or at least his people running this thing, are going to learn a lot from fighting with Russia. But yeah, it's crazy to think about the size of their military, 1.2 million soldiers. And I bet they could get a whole lot more. Basically, their entire male population could be their force. So, and then I think it's because they are getting ready to end up helping them with technology, with weapons, all of that, and that Russians are going to be on North Korean territory fighting South Korea and the United States. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you. Let's go over to the chat real quick. I do want to welcome some really awesome people here. Rip Curl Readiness, thank you for being here yet again. Thank you. Bobby Sue, chat is moving so fast and I keep getting left behind. I know, it's hard for me. Sometimes I'll read half a sentence and then be like, I missed that. I swear I thought that pic was crochet. Oh, that's funny. Hold on. That's hilarious. Yes, that is a crochet stitch. Kind of looks like it. And you know what's so funny? I thought this was like a filter applied, like one of those weird, picture filters with colors. That is just a different uniform color. And what is crazy is that this is supposedly a real photo. Look at how it's a machine. Most militaries are, but I mean, just how they're looking up at the camera. That's freaky. All right, and then back to chat. Let's go. Tammy Lee, we've got Little Light ASMR. Hey, what's going on? Stealth Mode. Judy Bailey. We've got Justa Deal. No, what's it going on? Stealth Mode. We've got Judy Bailey. That was a good one, though. You almost got me. Marzi, Mark Schaefer. Let's see here. Dan Oberweiser. And, of course, we've got Leave Me Alone. That's a good one. Ronald Frey, Stevie J. Blue, and everyone else in the chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. And Mitchell Wintro, by the way, thank you for the support last show. I did not see the screen recording yet, though. And then Craig Alicious, Kirk Burning, Carol, and, of course, Rumble the Clown. Thank you, this week's support, Danish Girl. Thank you, Terrible Truth. Thank you, B. Tisdale. Thank you, Jared West. Thank you, Bible Talk 777, Kat, LAPD SWAT, Elisa Borden, and My Annuity Store, Inc. Thank you guys for being here this week. All right, let's get back into the news. Tens of thousands protest in Tel Aviv against the DM's firing. So if you did not hear that Yoav Gallant was fired, and it is pretty crazy because we have covered so much about Yoav Gallant, and I guess this kind of came out of left field. For some their opinion is it was a good move. Many that were protesting said that they were absolutely against this. Dex, do you want to go over, why they had a problem with Yoav Gallant and why the protesters are mad about it?
Yeah, him and Netanyahu have always been at odds at how to handle the situation in the Strip. Yoav Gallant was obviously revered by the public. A lot of people liked him, but he just clashed. Him and Netanyahu clashed. So conveniently on the Pick the Prez Day, Tuesday, when everyone was distracted with what was going on, that was the perfect time to actually pull the plug and tell him he was fired. So he did let him go. And now, of course, the people that are in support of him are upset, and there's a lot, I guess, upwards of, many thousands of people, 10,000 or more people protesting there in Tel Aviv over his firing.
Why? I guess, is it just weird to me that people are out in the streets about a defense minister? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if our defense, I guess, who's the lead of our, we don't call it a defense minister. We called it, what do we call ours? Chief of Defense or something. If one of our guys got fired. Lloyd Austin. So if Lloyd Austin, who would be protesting for that? Like, even if we were at war, I guess maybe if we were in a really big war, that if everybody was following it very closely, maybe people would protest if Lloyd Austin got fired. But doesn't that seem kind of odd? Like, the defense minister gets fired and people are protesting? And what is his stance versus what Netanyahu's? How do they differ? They say that they've been at odds. How are their opinions differing? That's what my question is.
Well, yeah, they say Gallant had disagreed with Netanyahu over three main issues: the need to end controversial exceptions from the military draft for the ultra-Orthodox. That had been an issue that had been going on for a while there, and they wanted those exemptions. An urgent need for the deal for the hostages and getting that done faster. And I believe, if we recall, the times that Netanyahu was very firm on not negotiating and saying, no, we're going to move forward, the time for negotiation has passed. And so there was people that were on the opposite side of that, which would have been him. And I think the third one was an official commission of inquiry into any of the political and security failures that happened during that date.
So obviously they get better coverage of this gentleman there than we do here. So he was for holding out for peace and negotiation. That's a big reason. And then he was also, what was that? The first one was...
the ultra-Orthodox, wanting exemptions from being drafted.
Yes. So he was trying to stick up for the people that were ultra-Orthodox, saying, hey, they shouldn't be put in, that they shouldn't be drafted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So anybody who is, Israel is the Holy Land, so you could see that the people would go, hey, he's standing up for the actual folks that are this. Should those people get drafted? Absolutely not. So that does make sense. Okay, yeah, and that's what's so crazy. It's so much so different there compared to somewhere like here. So, and then we have Hezbollah rocket fired from Lebanon hits Israel's main airport. I also wonder, how do things like this, especially Hezbollah, I guess, isn't Hezbollah the one we covered that now has hypersonics? Didn't they say that they now have hypersonics, or was that the other group?
That was Yemen, the Houthis.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking if that was Hezbollah that had the hypersonics, that would make sense. But they said a Hezbollah rocket landed within the area of Israel's main airport as the terror group fired 120 missiles over the border. Sirens were heard in central and northern Israel as barrages of rockets targeted towns and cities, with several injured in the village of Avivim. It says smoke was seen at Tel Aviv Ben Gurion Airport, the busiest in Israel, and a crater was pictured in what appeared to be a car park. So, again, this actually got through to one of their main airports. They said that the actual hole was in the car part. You see a car here all completely smashed up here. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and then in response, I'm assuming to this is just recently in the last few hours, it looks like Israel struck Beirut again. They're saying strikes so large it was east of Lebanon, in East Lebanon in Beirut. They took out 40 people apparently as the current number they're suggesting at this moment. So there's a big tit for tat going back and forth on this right now.
And I'm going to try to pull up. Yeah, so there's some stuff already coming out from Beirut, and they're saying that there's some pretty big, crazy strikes there.
I can get you this one article right now if you want it.
Yeah, that would be great. And then, as you guys know, we'll try to update the news as it comes. If there's breaking news, you can always drop it in the chat too. So some of the videos, I mean, some of these are big explosions. Big explosions. Yeah, that looks like a city block. If that is true and current. You never know what is at this point, especially with a lot of people on X. They share old videos when there's a new headline. Okay, let me pull this up here. So this isn't going to bed just because, like, everybody in the United States is reeling over the win of Donald. Doesn't mean that all of the rest of this is going to go away. But it does make you wonder. I literally have heard this forever, that if he wins, that everything is going to go back to great and that everything is going to go back to normal. I don't think so. I also know that the system was set up the first time around. If you remember, he constantly had snakes in the grass and people that were pushing against what he wanted to do. Is it going to end up like that? And people say, "Oh, every side of the Senate and the House and everything is been taken." That doesn't matter. I mean, look at the list of people that are on that side now. Half of them were making videos saying, "Yeah, well, I've got to make a tough decision and I've got to go the other way this time." It's like, what? So I don't think it's going to be absolutely easy for him to fix all of this. But some people believe that he will be able to call up Netanyahu. He'll be able to call up Xi Jinping. He'll be able to call up Putin. He'll be able to call up Zelensky. I mean, Zelensky was even rooting for Donald, saying, "Hey, at least he'll figure something out, something." But this is bad. Let me pull this up here real quick. So we've got. Let me refresh this. Oh, okay, up next. Okay, thank you. And thank you for the. No, yeah, there's some pretty bad stuff on this too. But yeah, Israeli warplanes hit Beirut. Wave of strikes take the lives of 40 in East Lebanon. Israel bombed Beirut overnight after Lebanon's health ministry reported 40 people perished, 53 wounded in a massive aerial strike from Israel. I mean, there you have it. That was a quick tit for tat before people even knew it. I mean, most people are still reeling from our pick the prez. And yet there has been a massive exchange overnight. So firings, there's been a lot that has happened in the last 24 hours. And it's the craziest time to have that happen. I mean, it's just like we could have the biggest thing here. Everybody's paying attention here. And there could be, a 2001 event kind of thing happening somewhere else. And people would still be like, yeah, or wah. I call it the yeah or wah. All right. And then before we move on, make sure with all of the craziness going on, I am telling people not to be complacent. I'm telling my friends and family, this doesn't mean that everything is going to be peaceful. Honestly, I think there could be scenarios where this is even much worse, especially with the groups that are at play here. If you haven't already, go check out Jace. It's a quick telehealth appointment with a board-certified doctor. You can actually sit on your couch at home and get yourself an appointment with a doctor, get yourself antibiotics, in fact, a kit that comes with all of the most prescribed antibiotics. In the event that we don't have hospitals, internet, or power grid, or pharmacies, that's where this kicks in. And that doesn't mean it has to be the end of the world or an attack from another country. Heck, as the FBI puts it, it could be Bob down the street doing it, which very well could be, Bob from Bob I. But again, this will help you in any of those situations. A tiny cut on your finger could turn into a disaster if you don't have modern medicine. So again, this is a great thing. Go and check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. And if you are a caregiver or someone cares for you, if you have a daily medication, make sure to go check. You might be able to get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds with a program called Jace Daily. marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that helps us out. Again, it also gets you a big discount, and you're helping out independent media at the same time. If people only knew. Thank you guys for sharing us out and getting us past that barrier. Thank you guys for, essentially, you are the only reason we grow. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. And then, Dex, let's talk about Taiwan. Says it receives its first high-tech rocket systems from the U.S.
Right. They announced today that they have received their first batch of the HIMARS, the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, from the United States. Taipei's defense ministry said Wednesday, as the island races to boost its defenses against a potential Chinese attack. So first off, you got to think that this is really going to anger Beijing, or Xi in China, as we are literally pushing more arms into the country. In this case, it's a sale, but it doesn't matter. It's U.S. rocket systems now being deployed into Taipei or into Taiwan to be used against China. So I think we've also recently done deals with them to sell $1 billion worth of military equipment, from ammunition, including F-16 fighter jets and warships. So lots of things that we have done over the last 5 decades, but some of that has been recent. I know some of the plane stuff they had just recently gotten permission to buy, as well as the HIMARS. But the HIMARS are the truck-mounted units. They can launch multiple precision-guided rockets at the same time. Of course, these are the ones that Ukraine has used against Russia. And Taiwan purchased 29 of the units from the U.S., and the first 11, so they got 11 of these, have now arrived on the island. So that's a big step, at least as it relates to their defense capabilities against China. It's a big step in the sense that the U.S. arming Taiwan against China. And
Fugel family member Dan it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's nothing that isn't public. So we've done these huge contracts with them. The first of 11 of these have gone over. It said that in the next 3 weeks, he works in logistics and works at one of these ports. Says that there's actually a lot more. And in the next 3 weeks, he believes that we will see public news about more arriving in Taiwan. What does that say about the situation in Taiwan? I guess we'll have to wait and see. As far as this goes, we're seeing kind of the first of these very big movements of military equipment into Taiwan. So we will update you as it comes out, but just watch. It's November 6th. I believe that there's going to be more supplies, bigger ones that piss off China, most likely by December, even December 1st. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. And look at up until January. I really hope that in January we have peace, that all of a sudden overnight everything really does truly work out. At that point, if we're in January and we're at peace and going into February, March, May, and everything is good, I'll be wondering what the hell really happened. Because if all of the last 4 to 8 to 10, 12 years, since 2001, if all of this has happened, and now all of this has led up to what has gone on, all of the stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, the changes in our culture, the changes in our society, the changes in our schools, the changes in our law enforcement, the changes in our rule of law, the changes in our constitution, state constitutions all over the place. What is this all leading up to? Most likely the same things that we've talked about for years about what's happening in 6 years. What do you think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of which, thank you over on Rumble. Thank you over on X. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate everybody that is watching live on X. And then Craig Alicious, thank you, and thank you. Kent, Clark Kent, thank you. Stephen McMahon, hope you are doing well. Hope you're having fun at work if you're there. One Robert Nelson, thank you. Jonathan Feisch. Carol White, thank you. Carol as well, thank you. Tammy Carver, of course, Lavera Lucchini, and Vic the Villain. Hopefully you are doing well. New heavyweight Chinese jet drone looks to be a swarm mothership. Dex, what did you think of when you first saw this? I mean,
it's like a massive looking version of our non-jet drone. But this whole notion of swarms just got me thinking back to the fact that they have been building this technology. We've talked a lot about, I think it was from their swarm ship. Was it a naval ship they were making that would launch a swarm? This may be a different version of that just from the air, right?
Yeah, but did you not think about the article that we just covered over the last 2 weeks? Do you remember? Wasn't there a sighting of this thing that it looked like a mothership was releasing smaller objects? What was that? Was that a sighting? Was that a military sighting?
That was a military sighting they said was coming from a drone, but I don't know that.
And I said it was China. I said it was China.
But I don't know if it was plane-based. I thought they said that was stationary drone. Or this is a jet moving hundreds of miles per hour linearly. I don't know if it was the same.
It releases drones, though, correct?
Yes.
Swarms of drones.
Swarms.
So if this is high enough up, they see a single thing, and then things release out of it. I want to go back to that show, and I want to see exactly what that was, because I remember people were all shouting UFOs. I was thinking, this is China. I talked about how this is their expertise. This is what they're ahead of us in. Autonomous drones and drone swarms. And then look at this. Shortly after we get that sighting from military, all of a sudden you are having this public display of a very large jet-powered Chinese drone said to have a 10-ton maximum takeoff weight, 10 tons, or a mock-up thereof, is emerged ahead of the formal opening of this year's Zhuhai Air Show. The design notably appears to be at least depicted as being fitted with a modular payload section designed to launch swarms of smaller, uncrewed aerial systems. A swarm. This is where it's going. Back in 2017 and 2018, I was showing you guys this stuff. And I know many of you saw this too, but there was so many people, our friends and family, that had no idea, that don't follow this stuff. I said the next war is going to be bonkers. I've said this for years. And that it's all going to be swarms of drones, and it's going to be robot versus robot. That is exactly where it is heading. I mean, of course it is. But I mean, honestly, many people thought we would be in flying cars by 2020. So they said, this and that. So when I said that, they're like, yeah, well, people think that. There were so many doubters saying, the technology, I think it's going to take a lot longer for the technology to get to that. You have TED Talks that are half a decade old. They might even be a decade old, of these tiny swarm vehicles all doing things. I mean, look at now, you have drone swarms being used for entertainment heck, America's Got Talent showed this private group that had 500 lit up drones doing, Simon Cowell's face. What do you think they're doing with it on the military side? These are terrifying. And now there's a new fear unlocked. Think about all the guys that had PTSD from all of the previous wars. Now, all of the clips you see are guys hiding from these frickin' drones, and you hear the buzz of the drones. I was told by a military guy that just got back in January of this year. He said that these drones... I told him about the comment. Somebody says they really need to make them quieter. He said that there are quiet drones that are silent, that these things are absolutely silent if they want them to be, but they purposely have a lot of that sound. The smaller ones, I don't think they can avoid it, possibly. But he said that sound puts fear into people. When they hear that bee like zzz, that is terrifying because they know it is accompanied by an explosive that can take their life. So I guarantee you there's going to be people with the DJI in the park very soon here. We're going to see people go into full PTSD in the park because somebody has a DJI drone or something. I mean, that's a freaky thing. But this is exactly where I saw it going, and a lot of you did too. And then fresh health concerns about NASA astronauts stranded on ISS after gaunt new photo. Dex, you want to go over what this photo showed?
Yeah. I mean, look, let's just go to the photo. Scroll down. Take a look at the before of these two. More so the lady, Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore. You can see them in their flight suits there before they left. And then if you look at the next picture and you look at her in the ISS in the background there and kind of zoom in on her, they're saying she is extremely gaunt, and doctors are raising concerns about her, condition. She's super, super, super thin. And, at least that's what it appears on camera. So I think they're concerned about...
Oh, sorry, wrong picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't look good. Yeah.
I don't know if
I don't think she
just
looks
makes you
gaunt
that
at all.
thin, or if you're just not eating well.
Well,
But, they were.
that's the thing.
These guys were only supposed to be there a few days, right? They were on that mission from Boeing, right? Like 8 days, I think it was supposed to be, and they've been there for, I don't know, 3 months now, 4 months, and going on into next year before they get picked up, I believe.
Wait a second. This is supposed to be in space? This is in the ISS, correct? Right? What? So they have tape. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, why is everything sitting on the table? You see the spoon floating here, right? They have double-sided tape with the ketchup, and apparently it's an ad for Hormel pepperoni. Who's the gentleman, right? Who's that? That's not the Russian guy, is he? They've got some Russian...
I think that's Barry Wilmore. Is that not the same gentleman that's beside her in the before picture?
They have some Russian food here, too. I was just looking at their diet. Doesn't look too healthy either. Pepperoni Hormel, that isn't like the junkiest, grossest stuff ever. I don't know.
Yeah, but I imagine the shelf life on that is probably pretty good, and you need something like that in space, right? They're not eating fresh eggs.
Honestly, I don't see much of a difference. I think it's an angle. It's like a top-down angle of the same woman. I don't think she looks gaunt. I think it's a flash hitting the left side of her face. And you just don't see her chin in this other picture. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the doctors there are suggesting that there's an issue, or at least the doctor here that's in this article.
Oh my gosh. Does he not look like freaking Tom Arnold right there? Swear. Does that not look like Tom Arnold? Roseanne's ex-husband. Is that not Tom Arnold? I don't know if anybody else saw that too. Wow. That's crazy. Yes, all the water goes to the center of your body in 0G. Yep, Tom, he does. I swear. Like, look at that. That is so crazy. Even the hairline, the smile with the... Hold on. Now I got to pull up a picture of Tom Arnold. Watch this. You guys are going to trip. Tom Arnold smiling. Oh my gosh. That is freaking classic. Look. Tom Arnold, right? That totally looks like Tom Arnold. Even the way he closed mouth smiles like that. There's another one. Hold on. Wow, like same nose and everything. That's crazy. Hold on, I gotta fix this. You guys are hearing that.
There's a second picture of him down below too.
I'm using a voter pamphlet as my mouse pad here. Hold on. Okay. It's just that angle. Totally looks like Tom. Yeah, still. I'm not saying it's Tom Arnold. They would. I guarantee you, with all the. It's so funny. You could say stuff like that, and if you have enough hatred, if I was like any of these big names, if somebody like T-Man suggested that, or anybody, they would write whole articles like, crazy, tinfoil header believes that this guy is actually Tom Arnold, Roseanne's husband. It's like, they're just so dishonest. It's insane. All right. And then, of course, the ISS folks, that it will update you on how that ends up going. And then Chinese scientists build real-life Death Star that can wipe out enemy satellites in orbit in terrifying breakthrough. Yeah. And nobody's even talking about that, right? I just saw probably the last half of The Creator popped on last night, and it was on, was it on Max? It was on something. It like auto-played after something on Prime. And I ended up watching the last half of The Creator. If you didn't see there was something called Nomad in that movie. Creator is actually a freaky movie. If you haven't seen that, that is about when AI is designed to help, humanity. It shows basically an America that has kind of an Elon, has an Optimus bot type thing, and they get advanced, and there ends up being this part where AI ends up nuking a bunch of people. I don't want to spoil the twist in that story, but it ends up, nuking people, and then the United States has a war against AI. Well, New Asia ends up partnering with it, and you even see like human and AI cops, robot cops, essentially working hand in hand. And they also have these things called simulants that are humans or robots with AI and human faces. And you might remember there was a big thing at one of the NFL, maybe it was Super Bowl, where there were all these people with the holes through their head. They had this weird makeup on. It made them look like robots. But they had that Nomad. And if you remember, I'll show you a clip or a picture of the Nomad, because it has this scanning thing. And this isn't a movie, right? But it made me think of Hawaii back when Nomad in The Creator. Yeah, it kept showing these clips of this, right? And how it had this, and by the way, how long it is. Do you remember when they said that they were going to make a multi-mile long, 5-mile long structure in space? And I was thinking, gosh, that's so weird. And it almost makes you wonder. And then you also look at The Creator. By the way, The Creator has these big investment companies, and I believe, I could be wrong, that a lot of these, it's like MONN or one of these is a big Chinese company. So I just thought it was really weird that this thing scans like this. And you see all these clips of it scanning the waters and scanning it, and it 3D maps everything. This is exactly what China has been accused of in the Hawaiian Islands, where these lasers came over. A lot of people saw this, where it just came over and it was scanning things. They said it was a weather satellite, that it was scanning for something like that. But I think it was 3D mapping, because if you think about the story we just talked about with that drone swarm launcher, drones and autonomous drones, they not only need that mapping info, it's a must. If you're going to release drones on something, they need to know. It's kind of like a Tesla driving itself. For a Tesla to drive itself, they have to have so much data on everything. But not to mention, they have to have cameras and sensors and LiDAR and all of these different things to map out their entire world. It brings me back to that. These are the guys you saw at, what do you call it, Super Bowl. You know, they had a bunch of people made up to look like that. Very freaky looking. Those are potentially the AI. Big twist in the movie. I won't ruin that. But it made me think of that when you see these this Death Star. It says the terrifying real-life Death Star is capable of focusing multiple microwave beams into a single target. Are we just getting like the very first parts of what we've already known for a very long time? The weapon system has been recently completed experimental trials on its potential military use. China has been developing high-powered microwave HPM weapons with the potential to disrupt radar systems, computers, communication infrastructures, and even missiles and satellites. So you thought this was over, people, because T-Man won? Just watch what the next step is. And the next step is what everybody needs to prep for. I'm telling you this is going to happen, but that's, again, just my opinion. I believe that this is only going to get worse, and I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I can see it. It's so clear what is about to go down. It says the new type of high-powered Death Star weapon combines electromagnetic waves with ultra-precise timing to merge into a powerful beam. I mean, it's insanity. It isn't literally insanity. Dex, is this not just insane?
Yeah.
And it says the needed precision is much greater than the atomic clocks used for GPS satellite. However, Chinese scientists believe that they have cracked the problem and achieved ultra-high time precision synchronization, according to the South China Morning Post. Hopefully they are just totally bluffing on this, right, Dex?
Well, yeah, it does sound like a super complex problem, but at the end of the day, that type of tech, you got to imagine we can solve these problems. Like what was super complex in theory 10 years ago is relatively simpler to solve now, and a year from now it'll be even easier. So, yeah, it's not surprising that they say they can do this or claim to have been able to do it, connecting, some sort of optical fibers between the microwave transmitting vehicles so that they can stay in time sync, which is important for the synchronization of those waves. But yeah,
but what this is also claiming is that they have solved it, that they have cracked the code. It says, while the weapon sounds absolutely terrifying, for the Death Star to work, it must sync the microwave beams to arrive. And by the way, I just want to tell you, I swear AI is also writing articles for major outlets. Beans, microwave beans. That was the guy's lunch that day. Oh wait, it's AI, so I guess he doesn't eat. To arrive in the same form to effectively function. Each microwave producing component called vehicles should not exceed 170 picoseconds, which didn't the EMP shield work in picoseconds? It's like so many, it's trillionths of a second.
Correct.
Or needed precision is much greater than the atomic clocks used for GPS satellites. However, Chinese scientists believe they have cracked the problem and achieved the ultra high time precision synchronization. This is what they actually, and they say they did this by connecting microwave transmitting vehicles using optical fibers. This is what they say, and I believe this is part of their weapon that is going to knock out our early warning radar, our early warning systems, if this is true. And do you notice that it's a pattern? They keep releasing step by step more and more of the China technology. That is what's going to happen because we're about to go to war. And they're slow rolling information to the public about what is actually about to happen. I'm telling you, this is going to be a very, very crazy year. I can already feel it. 2025 at least, next year. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Patriot Supply. If you haven't, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. We have, and in fact, we have actually looked and looked and looked. There is not a better deal out there. If anything, to get this same kind of deal on freeze-dried food is very, very difficult to do. As far as we have actually had we've represented a few companies that do freeze-dried food. But the thing that really sticks out about this is the actual price and how much you get for it and how much you can actually, how much time you can settle for such a small price. There's always a giant sale with this code. The very usual one is $200 off on every 3-month package, but it does vary depending on when you watch this video, so make sure to go check. But again, for that, a 3-month supply, that's food for, again, 3 months for one person, a month and a half for 2 people, or a month for 3 people. So if you are trying to get up, 3 months, 6 months, a year worth of food, you will quickly find out it is extremely expensive. But if you do it this way, you'll not only have a good chunk of food, but you'll also have it in a very efficient, space-saving form, and it will last for up to 25 years. So if you think about that, that is basically, you're looking at 2050. So really insane. Go and check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. I would highly recommend doing this while we have a system, one that we take for granted. marfooglenews.com/prep. Also, you can get other things there. Another recommendation, highly recommend getting yourself an Alexa Pure Pro. There's lots of competitors in that arena. This does the same 99.9% of all of the different contaminants, lead, pharmaceuticals, bacteria. If you're worried about your water, this does the same as all of the crazy big names you hear at a fraction of the cost. It is an incredible unit, and it does a lot in a very small amount of time. So again, go check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep, and make sure to use that link. You don't need a code over there. Just use the link, and you will get the savings. All right, and then Dex, let's talk about the grid and what they supposedly found. This guy that was supposedly going to take out our grid.
Right.
And how did they catch him?
So they've released this elaborate story between this person they've now arrested, Skylar Felipe, 24, claiming that he was part of a group of bad people here in the domestic type category, which fit the narratives that have been going around. But the gist of it is it sounds like they allude to that they were undercover with him to basically get him the supplies he needs to perform this task that he wanted to do, which was to take out a power station with an explosive laden drone. They go so far as to supply him with a inert piece of material that he thought was going to be the component needed. And they even went with him to fly test runs and then took him as part of their undercover to the location and to get ready to perform the event, and had him confirm multiple times through conversation that he was going to do it. And now he's arrested and charged. So, but the thing is, it's just the timing. Like, this whole thing, you've got to imagine this didn't just happen in one day. This happened probably over a month or longer. It took them time to infiltrate, to set up the UCs or the undercovers to, befriend or get engaged in however this plot that they're sort of describing takes. All of this took a lot of time, but it all comes out and comes to light right at the exact same time as our selection day process. So was this something, it just doesn't sound right to me, is all. I'm going to leave it at that. We talked more about it over on news. There's a shorter version of this, shorter video. If you want to share it with your friends and family, it's over on Marfoogle News on YouTube.
Let me show you the definition of projection, right? I know many of you, when you think of projection, you've probably thought about the last few years. But that's, again, let me just show you here. Projection. A mental process. In psychology, projection is when someone attributes their own thoughts, feelings, or behaviors to another person. This can be a defense mechanism to externalize blame, guilt, or responsibility. For example, someone who is self-critical may think that others are critical of them. Yeah. So you've thought about this for years, right? And now they're pointing this finger that the thing that's going to take down our grid is not Iran, not China, not all of these crazy obvious things, right? It's going to be Bob and Steve are doing this. They've already found examples of this, and the only proof of those things are, oh, well, he was going to do it, and we caught him, and the same agency that no one is really believing right now is the same one that is completely involved up to, like, walking the guy up to the gate saying, yeah, start it up. Yeah, do it. And what does that tell you? Where are people going to point the finger when this happens? And then they put this at the very end. That is just spooky, okay? And do you think there wasn't purpose to this? Like, out of all, if he did talk about this, then you better believe he probably, if this is a real guy, he would have talked about a ton of things that are more recent, but they chose to only give you that little nugget. He believed this theory about back in the day in 2001, which is just incredible, because really it most of us believe a lot of stuff goes all the way back to that, right? But now they're attaching that to something. Just really, and it's freaky.
Well, imagine what would have happened if yesterday's event went the other way. And there was a change or an opportunity to then, go after more of the people they like to label into that category. Would an event like this create a narrative for that?
Yeah, I mean, this is really just funky. I'll say that. It is funky. All right. And prior, it was Oklahoma. Yep. Yeah. So, well, again, there's a lot more that it's on its way. I'm telling you, be careful, people. Thank your mods by dropping an M in the chat. They are absolutely awesome. You can go find them over at marfooglenews.com/friends. Again, you have everybody from Bones to Wages World covering all of the solar events. Trinity covering some of the most interesting stuff out there. Ilea is so funny, talented, amazing woman. Go check her out. Of course, Rip Curl, you got all sorts of great things. Thank Bobby Sue for modding in the chat. Rip Curl, make sure to subscribe to his channel. Again, great. Almost, he's at 4,000 now. Lisa Hall, what the heck? You guys, come on. Go over, 4 people, go over to Lisa Hall. Get her back to 1,000 here. All right. And 2 people go over to Jammer. And 19 to Optical Gem. All right, thanks. All right, thank you guys. And Trinity, come on, like just 4,000 of you. Go get her to 10,000. All right, Dex, go ahead.
And hey, just a quick mention, since we've been talking a lot, especially from the prior video, about the recent event that happened with T-Man getting back in office, and there seeming to be this sense of calm that is like the calm before the storm. Protesters have now kicked off again. So if you haven't heard, Chicago, Cleveland, and San Jose are active tonight.
And finally, so with everything that's happening, right, all of a sudden now they're saying, oh, all of the charges are now going to be dropped. They're going to wind down all of these charges against T-Man because they can't prosecute a sitting president. Well, he's not sitting yet. So I'm surprised that this day, boom, all of a sudden, no, yeah, they're basically going to drop it. Most regular thinking, just normal people, no matter who they thought was a good, who they supported, should see that and go, if you have a conscience whatsoever, you should think, oh, so you mean it really feels like that was all done just to keep them out, right? That's the big claim. That they used this whole thing to try to get this to not happen. Well, now that it's happened, they're like, forget it. What? We are in a clown world. I need to go to the dictionary and look up some incredibly unknowable, one of those words that you find on toilet paper or on a calendar to describe how crazy this world is. Dex, go ahead.
So there's been a lot of speculation and even commitments coming from the former prez saying that he would release information when he gets in about different events, everything from, what's going on with Diddy to, what happened in Pennsylvania to him, to JFK and et cetera. Do we think we're going to see some inside information at some point, or is that somehow going to get, redacted like it did every other time?
Do you remember the pillow guy saying right after this that do you remember, like, he said, well, we've got this and we've got everybody and everybody's going to go down and all this, and then just nothing really happened? Like, what do they really know? And that there's probably leverage that's preventing them from actually putting out some of the craziest info. Like in politics, there's always something that comes out right before. Like the whole, it's straight out of the show House of Cards. It's like, these last minute things, these dirty things that happen, or there's probably a better show to describe it, but how right before they dig up dirt on everybody or the dirt comes out on everybody, they're always looking for leverage. What leverage did they have that they really haven't put out yet, but they couldn't because there's some sort of leverage against them? What secrets are in these closets on both sides? I think that we will see a lot of that come out. Not just fake up, made up secrets, made up leverage, like, oh, well, back in the day, this and this happened, but it didn't actually happen, or they said it, and then it's not even really a big deal. The worst thing of this whole thing was, like, the worst thing that they could talk about, like this whole, like last week, it was all about how Elon jumped up in the air with his dad bod. It's like, they really thought that was going to sway people. They're like, yeah, they're dorks. It sounds like something that, like, high school seniors would say about, like, a freshman, like, look at how nerdy he is when he jumps. It's like that. You're talking to a bunch of adults saying, like, and they literally point out the way the guy jumps. If you're on that side, wouldn't you think, like, hey, can you guys go get some real dirt or something real to stop this? Like, but no, they go and point out that the guy jumps like a dork. That's what I'm saying. We're up against, like, children. It seems like the entire media system is made up of idiots. But again, today...
Well, it'll be interesting to see if something comes out that implicates others, and if any of those others are shaking in their boots right now, or if they're trying to prevent things, or if there'll be, there's still time. Like, there's time between now and January to clean up, cover up, broker deals, do whatever they got to do, right? But, what if there's something tied to what happened in Pennsylvania? What if there's something tied to, of course, everybody believes there's some crazy stuff with JFK, but that's so old, it's the people that were involved are probably not even around.
Mary Gunn says Elon is isn't a dork. He's too intelligent. Well, whatever you think of any of them. I'm just saying, like, if you were really trying to go after somebody, it's like, if you compare, it's like, oh, one side is like, this person did this to wee ones. On the other side, they're like, the guy jumps like a dork. I mean, like, this is just, it's crazy. And people saw that. And you know what was so funny is my 18-year-old daughter's 19-year-old guy friend said, oh, you mean the guy that, like, jumps weird? Like, that's really what actually stuck out to the youth. Youth were actually like, yeah, did you see that picture of him the guy that jumps weird? They don't think like SpaceX or Tesla or this or that. They think of how he jumped weird. I'm just like, or they point out that he, all these stupid things about all of the people. It's just been a mess. We'll update you guys tomorrow, and I believe we will probably have some pretty crazy stuff overnight. Bobby Sue, yes, guy friend. One of her she's a gamer, so she actually has like a lot of guy friends, and she has her boyfriend. So yeah, I know, Bobby Sue, there's no such thing as a guy friend, but if you knew this guy, you would be like, yeah, that's just the friend. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful night, and be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, Carlton Sutton. I appreciate your support. Thank you, Kimbria and Carlton Sutton and Michelle K. Top supporters. Thank you.